No, Deadpool can't save the MCU, and it can't save the comic book movie genre, but if it can overcome its biggest obstacle, it can do something almost equally as important. Maybe you already know what that is, and if so, I hope you enjoy the ride anyways. With the current state of the comic book movie genre and an overall lack of excitement in box office returns or critical reception for several projects, many fans are wondering and hoping that Deadpool 3 or Deadpool and Wolverine can be the film to turn it around. That can make the big splash and can get the general movie-going audience excited about all of the comic book movies again, and not just give us hope for the future and to be optimistic about the next projects, but also restore some lost trust in the quality department. We have heard this a few different times that the next movie might be the one, and I remember that especially with Guardians 3. Fans of Deadpool and Wolverine, though, have been waiting literally years for this film, and this week we got the new trailer, and after a very long wait, it seems like the wait will hopefully be worth it, but there remains a lot of questions to be answered. This film is unlike the first two Deadpool films, where they were sort of set apart from the rest of the Fox X-Men universe. I mean, there was a little bit of cameos here and there. In fact, the entire comic book movie landscape has drastically changed. Fox has now been absorbed by Disney, the X-Men franchise is dead, the MCU is struggling worse than before, and although Sony and the MCU know how to make good Spider-Verse films, DC has the Batman on one side and a reboot on the other. The MCU is struggling now more than ever, and although they've had some projects I've liked over the last few years, it's clear to the general audience that since Endgame, a lot of viewers feel like the comic book movie genre should have ended. Now, they still turn out for the Batman or Guardians 3, like I said, but this is the general consensus in some viewers and can't be ignored. There's still things that do get the general movie-going audience excited, like Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, I think. The X-Men joining the MCU, maybe. And there's the wild card in Deadpool. Now, the trailer has done incredibly well, and in my personal opinion, there are only really a handful or two of comic book movies that transcend the average formula and cliches of some of the more middle-of-the-road comic book movies, and I do believe that Deadpool falls into the category of transcending the genre. I bet even your grandma has probably at least heard of Deadpool. He has, in a way, transcended the comic book movie bubble, and Ryan Reynolds, of course, is a huge part of that, and although he hasn't had a Deadpool movie come out recently, he's never been bigger as an actor than right now. So with all of that alone, I think the movie might make money just with that aside, and therefore declared a financial success, sure. But can one movie right the entire ship of the MCU and one film studio's wrongdoings? Even if it makes $1 billion, can it erase the issues of Phase 4 and Phase 5? Of course not. Can it give us a proper Daredevil Season 4, or get DC to get its shite together, or to even gain our trust with being able to execute Deadpool properly just by himself? Do they even have a plan for Deadpool after this one film? So can this one film save the entire MCU and Marvel Studios? Well, I think, honestly, it's a bit of an unfair expectation for this one movie to be able to accomplish so much and shift everyone's feelings on an entire genre. But with just how lackluster and inconsistent these past few years have been for comic book movies, it's kind of where we are at right now. At least a lot of us. I think that the people that want this movie to quote-unquote save the MCU aren't wrong in thinking that way either. We want something to look forward to in the future. We want proof that the MCU and Marvel can still make not good, but great films, and that they will live up to their promise and deliver a true rated R genuine Deadpool follow-up film. And that comic book movies aren't going anywhere, but maybe one day there might be less shared crossover type films, more standalone like the Batman or Spider-Verse, where they might share the universe with other heroes, but it's not dependent on cameos or low-hanging fruit like so many of these other films. Films like classic Raimi Spider-Man films, or the Dark Knight trilogy, or even Deadpool. Some of those films were standalone completely in nature, and others had some other superpowered beings show up, sure, but was never reliant on, the big pop, the big moment of, ooh, look, it's been X long since we've seen X actor play X role. And that's the fear that so many people have with this film. You know, they're jumping through timelines, a TVA is involved. This could be the best MCU movie since Endgame, maybe even better. But this also could be very convoluted, fan service filled. Which side do you land on? Now, Hugh Jackman is one of the founding fathers of the comic book movie genre and one of its best castings. This film, yes, has a lot riding on it, but has a lot going for it as well. Could be, yes, just nostalgia bait, but it's loaded with talent, which is usually not a bad thing, especially when it's in front of and behind the cameras. Could be refreshing with a new rated R comic book film that isn't trying to be rated R to be edgy, but because the story requires it to be so. It, at least for me, will also be really refreshing to see some damn mutants finally in a film with a Marvel Studios logo in front of it. Now, there are some genuine concerns to this film that I hear and see a lot that I also share in some regards, but the fact that the trailer damn near confirmed all the leaks or showed us several shots that we know what it leads to, like not totally giving us Wolverine, yes, is a great tease for a teaser trailer, but we did see him in pictures months and months ago alongside Deadpool and many other spoilers I won't go into here. So in that regard, the internet did kind of shoot the Deadpool teaser in the foot, where the trailer company didn't know how to respond, but with what we got, which was good, but nothing to increase my excitement level already. But there's also other concerns for this movie, not connected to leaks, but connected in its main cast and characters in Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Now, will bringing Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine end up servicing this film and his legacy as that character, or end up feeling unearned and end up hurting his ending in Logan? Will it be a film packed with shameless cameos like so many people are concerned, yet another multiverse adventure riddled with member berries? Will Disney undermine the film and try to censor Ryan Reynolds, or maybe try to hold Deadpool back in some way, which to many fans would stick out like a sore thumb and would be easy to point out? But the most important obstacle that Deadpool and Wolverine have to overcome, the most important challenge this movie has to face, is will the audience care enough to spend their time and money to go see it in theaters, or will they simply wait for it to hit streaming? Whether it's Disney Plus, Hulu, or Google Play, will they just say, yeah, I love Deadpool, but those comic book films have burned me out for years now. Now Deadpool's doing the multiverse stuff? Or will that be an appeal in hopes Deadpool will be parodying maybe the multiverse saga and can make fun of the company that now owns him for their own shortcomings and missteps over the years? If this movie is good and can do well financially, then it's safe to say inevitable it will do well on the streaming market. As we have seen countless times, films that are released first in theaters do well theatrically, they end up doing well on streaming later, and I think Deadpool and Wolverine will be no different. As someone who truly misses the peak era of the comic book movie genre when Fox was cranking out great X-Men movies, well, like 2 out of every 3, and Sony was going to make the Amazing Spider-Man trilogy, and Zack Snyder and DC were still doing some interesting stuff and exploring different tones, that's what I miss, the different tones in the current day comic book movie genre, where everything has become so slapstick at worst now, or like fun action comedy adventure family films that try to make everybody like it, and so a lot of people maybe do end up liking it, but no one truly loves it. The tones of a lot of these comic book projects, and hell, even outside the comic book film space over the last few years, have settled for low-hanging fruit, cash grabs, trying to play off the multiverse shtick. Hell, for a while, you remember when the shared universe was the shtick that everybody was trying to get? Now it feels kind of multiverse, now it feels kind of played out. Will audiences feel burned out from that? Or will Deadpool give this genre a kick in the teeth that it maybe needs and show some of the normies that don't watch videos like this that some of these films, other than just the Batman or Spider-Man and your occasional MCU film, can still be not good, but great. Bob Iger, love him or hate him, wants to pump the brakes on the amount of projects being fired out rapidly from the studios, which I think we can almost all agree is a good thing. That these Disney Plus shows have not only diluted the brands, but also the quality of writing and visual effects. Not to mention the constant last-minute rewrites of almost every project. Will these issues affect Deadpool and Wolverine? Obviously, we'll have to wait and see, but how poetic would it be if Hugh Jackman coming back, the guy who had the perfect send-off with Logan, who many of us fear this film could somehow undo that ending or try to retcon it, but this guy who was there really at the beginning of the modern day comic book movie craze could be one of the major catalysts for the MCU's second wind. It doesn't matter if Deadpool and Wolverine is better than The Dark Knight, Endgame, Avengers, Logan, the first two Deadpools. Of all of them combined makes $2 billion. It still won't fix all of the other problems that all of the other studios are having, including Disney and Marvel Studios. It doesn't need to fix all of their problems either. I'm just excited to see the movie, and I hope there aren't any more leaks, honestly. I at least believe this film is at worst going to be ambitious but flawed, and at best, one of the best MCU movies ever.